Hello, my name is Kelly Edwards and welcome to your yoga practice today. Now for today's class, I have a little bit more of like a informational, educational, kind of like a tutorial-esque flow. What we're going to be looking at today is the feet and the ankles and things that we can be doing within our yoga practice to stay balanced, to keep our weight distribution equal throughout our practice. So we're going to start standing, and it'll be good for this class to have a block, and I have a tennis ball because we're going to do some myofascial release, but like a baseball, a lacrosse ball, golf ball, all of that will work fine. I like the tennis ball because it gives a little bit, so it's not going to be as hard of a surface pushing into the body. So tennis ball and block for our practice. And we'll start standing. And when we're in mountain pose, we typically want the feet to be inner hips distance apart. And that is two of our fists rather, put together. And that space is between the middle arches of the feet. And so that's about inner hips distance apart in the body, okay? A lot of people will usually stand wider or with feet completely together, which this I don't love because some people might have bunions and that kind of juts out in the feet, so that's not really truly even or equal in the body. Okay, so feet inner hips distance, two fists between the arches, and you want to make sure that your second toes are parallel to each other, and those guys are pointing forward. Okay. And with that adjustment, you can move the heels out or in a little bit. Okay. So feet inner hips distance apart, second toes pointing forward and are parallel to each other. Now we have four corners of the feet, and this may vary depending on what yoga teacher you're talking to. Some say 3, some say 4. I like 4. I feel like that gives us a much broader foundation on the sole of the foot. And so to find the 4 corners, I want you to lift your toes off of the ground so that we are firmly on the soles of the feet only. Okay? And notice if by lifting the toes, if your body weight moved back or off to the side or anything. The 4 corners are the space underneath the big toe, so you can press into your big toe mound, that's what I'll call it. Then we've got the pinky toe mound, so we kind of press in and forward and then out and forward. Then we have the outer heels, so now some of our weight goes back but stays open. And the 4th point is the inner heel. So again, a little bit of weight moving kind of inward, but it's an equal balance, an equal distribution of weight between these 4 points. So toes are still lifted. Press into your big toe mounds. Now put some of that energy into the outer heels. Now move some of that weight to the pinky toe mound. And then finally even everything out by putting some weight into the inner heels. Now when I do this, and I like to do that kind of crisscross action across the sole of the foot, I feel my legs starting to turn on. My kneecaps are lifting a little bit, and it's almost as if the arches of the feet are like a vacuum, kind of sucking up that energy from the earth into the body. So now you can just lightly bring your toes back down, and you kind of grip a little bit into the toes. So just like you would if your hand was flat on the earth, a little bit of tension in the fingertips, like you're kind of palming a basketball. That same action I want you to find lightly in your toes. And you should feel, with all of those actions, relatively stable. And more of a foundation, more balance in the feet and the ankles. All right, you can let that go and just shake out the feet, release the ankles. And by activating those four corners, if you have a tendency to roll in with the ankles, that's going to help to correct you, okay? So by focusing on the feet, we correct the ankles, which then will help to correct the knees and then the hips, and it goes all the way up the body. So it's very important we're paying attention to what the feet are doing. All right, so let's get down, come to a seated pose. And if you want, you can sit on a block or a blanket or a cushion. And we're going to do some work now to open up the feet. We tend to wear socks and shoes a lot of our time during the day, and that just hugs the sole of the foot in. So without really knowing it, we're creating like a kind of like a balance beam that we're on our feet. So a very thin line of energy that we're trying to balance on. So a good thing to strengthen the feet, the ankles, and thus get better at balance is to actually open up the muscles on the feet and ankles. So this one is called a toe spreader, and it's very similar. If you go and get a pedicure, they have those little things that they put in between your toes. That's what we're looking for, but we're going to do that with our fingers. So I've got my right leg here, my right foot. I'm going to take my pinky finger and I'm just going to keep it at the top tip of the finger here and place it in between my final two toes. And then my next finger goes into the next space, the next. So my thumb is free because the thumb is a bigger finger and we don't want to stress the toes out. So spreading through the toes. If you're able to, you can get more of your fingers to push through the toes and maybe even try to get down to the roots of the toes, so you're spreading from their foundation as well. Okay. Now I'm going to rest my right foot across my left knee and thigh in kind of an easy seated pose here. If you would like to, if this feels too compressed, a little too claustrophobic, then you can place your foot on a block. But make sure that your ankle is free, so you can move your ankle around here. And very simply, I want you to pull the toes back, flexing the toes, and then point the toes forward, pointing through the foot. And then again, pull the toes back. Fingers are in between the toes, so they're spreading, flexing the foot, and then point. And let's do that just a couple more times. Flex and point. You might get some pops, some cracks in the fingers or the toes. Now keep the fingers in between the toes, and we're going to start to move the toes and thus the ankle around in circles. And switch directions. Good. One more time, flex and point. Flex and point. And then you can release the fingers from between the toes. Right hand is going to go on the top of the foot. Left hand, and specifically like the heel of the hand, is going to go into the arch, the bottom of the right foot. And we're going to clap around the foot. And this left hand is a bit more forceful as a way to awaken the arch of the foot, okay? So very simply, you're just gonna clap around the foot. Clap, clap, clap. Do like 5 more. Good. Now, extend both legs out in front of you and take a look at the differences that you see between the toes and between the feet and the ankles. So I'm seeing more space between the right toes, and I'm even noticing more color in my right foot, okay, which means that there's some heat, some blood moving into that space. So that's good. We want some strong circulation there. All right, so let's do the other side. Again, you can go back to like an easy seated shape and either use a block to rest your left shin or ankle on, or you can cross it over the top of the right knee. Taking your left fingers and placing them between the toes. Again, keep the thumb out because that's a bigger finger. Oh, I just got a crack. That feels good. And again, you can point through the toes and flex, pulling them back. Make sure that your ankle is hanging off whatever prop you're using. And all of these techniques are a way to open up the foundation of the foot. So again, we don't want to be walking on a tiny little balance beam. We want to spread open wide as if we're on like a big platform, is what we want to feel like on the feet. Okay, and you can start to move the ankle and foot in circles and switching directions. Good, and then 2 more times. Flex and point, flex and point. Good. Release the fingers from the toes, nice and easy. And then that clapping. So left hand will be on the top of the foot, right heel of the hand pushing into the arch on the sole of the foot. And clap, clap, clap. Let's go. 5, 4. Last one. All right. Again, take a look, extending the legs out, and just notice how now hopefully we see more space in between the toes. That's going to help us with the gripping, and we awakened more of the foot. We're going to go deeper into the opening of the sole of the foot. So come up back to standing and grab your ball that you have. We're going to just place the ball underneath the right foot. If you feel a little off balance here, you can go to a wall space or hold on to some furniture. Right foot is on the tennis ball, and I'm just pressing down and rolling. Press down and roll. And again, the tennis ball gives with you, so this is going to be an easier surface for you to push into. If you have a tennis ball, or I'm sorry, a golf ball or something harder, don't push down as much. And make sure that you're kind of rolling in on the inner arch of the foot. That is a spot that's very tender for me. Get to the outer edge. I like to press into the heel a few times, kind of press up and down, roll around. And then I also like to have the tennis ball underneath. It's really just like the 3 first toes. And I pull back and I help to stretch the 3 toes. Big toe, second and third. And come back up to the sole and keep rolling. Let's go like another 30 seconds here. I really recommend doing this every day, the myofascial release. That's going to help your balance out so much. And it seems so simple, and it is. And that's the solution. It's great. All right, now this is fantastic. I love this. Keep your right foot on the ball for now, so we really are grounding into our left foot. Lift your right foot off of the tennis ball and slowly plant the foot. And I just want you to notice how much more open the foot feels. That is stability that you're bringing into the body. Okay, so it's not always about muscular engagement and standing on one leg. It's about opening up the feet so we just feel better. Okay, I love that feeling. The left foot feels so cold and tight and tense compared to the right now. So let's even it out. Left foot steps on top of the tennis ball and start to roll. Don't forget about the inner arch. Don't forget about the heel. And maybe pulling the toes down and back to spread through the first three. Let's go for another 30 seconds on this side. Now releasing the left foot and take your time stepping back onto the mat. That just feels so good. I hope you guys are experiencing that too. Do this every day if you can. So let's come back into our mountain. Again, feet are inner hips distance apart. Lift and spread through the toes. And just see if now you have a better connection to the sole of the foot and those four corners. So we'll go weight into the big toe mound. Then we go outer heel, just a little bit of weight there. Then outer pinky or pinky toe mound. And then the inner heel. Equal weight between all four corners. And then you can release the toes and kind of grip into the toes a little bit. And just notice how this feels different than the first mountain we did. Hopefully you feel like you're on a broader surface on the soles of the feet now that they're open and awake. And again, by activating those four corners, we start to turn on the muscles of the lower body. Okay. Go ahead and let that go. And just shake out the legs and the feet. So these actions that we're talking about in the feet, we're finding in all of our yoga poses, okay? Even in like a high lunge position, we've got the front foot flat, so all four corners we're thinking of. And this back foot, though we're only on the ball of the foot, I am pressing through big toe mound, pinky toe mound equally, and I also want to be thinking of pressing back through the two corners in the heel, okay? And when I do that, when I press through the heel, that kind of lifts my thigh, lifts my energy up, so I'm not just dumping into the legs, into the feet. And it actually creates some more space for me to go deeper. So even if the foot is lifted, we're always imagining that we're pressing it into something, that we want to keep those four corners activated. So we're going to practice with tree pose for the balancing aspect. Now that the feet, the ankles are a bit more awake, let's put this into a standing pose. So I will start on my left leg as the trunk of the tree. And I'm going to lift the toes, find the big toe mound, the outer heel, the pinky toe mound, the inner heel. So foot active, how it should be. I feel the muscles in the leg. And you can drop the toes and kind of grip into the toes a little. Now lift your right heel up, so you're on the ball of the foot, and just turn your right knee out to whatever extent works for you. Now gently squeeze your glutes so that your hips push a bit forward, and I'll show you that from this side. Okay, so I don't want to be kind of dumping back into the booty. Squeeze the glutes, push the front of the hip points forward. Okay, now from here, bringing attention into the left foot, feeling as it's pressing into the ground, lower body starting to turn on and become active. I'm going to place my right foot to the shin, to the calf on that left leg. And again, whatever extent you're able to turn the right leg out, perfect. And think now of your right foot and see if you can press the four corners of the right foot into the outer leg. And you're pressing the four corners of the left foot down into the earth. And wobbling is not a bad thing. Wobbling means that your body's like, whoa, hello, what are we doing here? Let me figure this out. Let me get stronger for you. So it's doing what you want. It's getting stronger. It's understanding this. Okay. If you're pretty good here, and you want to go a bit further, you can lift the right leg, maybe grab hold of it with the hand and help to place it to the upper inner thigh. And then again, pressing into the left foot, all four corners. I'm evenly distributed there. And the right foot, all four corners, pressing into the thigh. And the thigh presses back a little bit. Keep squeezing your left glute. And here we have tree. And if you fall, you get back up. And you just keep trying again and again. Now for a more active tree, you can just lift your right foot away from the trunk, holding, wobbling, and come back down. You can sway through the hips, maybe do some hula hoops here. And again, shaking out the legs. All right, so let's try it on the second side. We always have one side that's a bit stronger than the other. So if that was your weaker side, no big deal. Let's go on to the right foot now. So again, we set up the trunk first. So lifting the right toes up and spreading through the toes. Press into the big toe mound first. Then put some weight into the outer heel. Then pinky toe mound going forward. And then the inner heel. Toes can release down, kind of gripping the mat with the toes. Feel that power of the leg already starting. Now lift your left heel, turn your knee out, again, at whatever capacity on the left hip. Reaffirm your connection, your attention in the right foot, and then bring left foot to the shin. Again, a gentle squeeze of your glutes so that your hips go a little bit more forward. And the left foot, all four corners, press into the leg. If you fall, come back up. And then if you want to go further, you can grab hold of the left ankle, help pull the foot up to your inner thigh. And if I were to just place the foot and forget about it, that's what starts to happen. So all of my weight goes that way, and I topple over. So as much as my left foot is pressing into the thigh, I'm squeezing the right glute and thinking of pressing the thigh back into the foot. Gently grip in the right toes. Press down through all four corners. Hold for a couple more breaths. And then active tree pose for a little more strength in the lower body. You can just lift that left foot away. Holding, balancing, and release. Once again, little shake through the hips. Some circles there too might feel good. And after that, after any standing balancing work that I do in my practice, I'll just tuck my toes. Ooh, I just cracked my toes. I'll tuck my foot and kind of crack my toes, or my ankle will sometimes crack a little bit too. So it's just taking my ankle out of that flexion that I've been in, and it's more of that point. And you can stretch back that way. I really like to do that. All right, so that is our little balancing intro. I think it's important to start there with what our actual foundation is. And again, these are all techniques and things that you should be thinking about throughout your whole practice. And if you build your shape from the ground up, then you're going to be kind of imagining like roots growing from the feet down into the earth. So all of that stuff is supporting you deeply, okay? So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you found some new techniques that you can take with you off of your mats. Try to do the toe spreader. Try to do the myofascial release every day. Those are going to be really, really great practices to help your balance out. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me with this video, and I'll see you again soon. Namaste.